there's a lot of fun stuff in here. Sarah did give birth to Isaac, and Abraham circumcised him according to the covenant. That's what we got back in Genesis 17. He's following the instructions. He's doing righteousness. Sarah demands Abraham remove Hagar and Ishmael from their household. Now, what I thought was interesting in this point was she refers to this woman as the servant or the slave. I know that King James and some of these translations use the word slave instead of servant. Slave has a much different connotation in modern American society, but the root word for that is a servant. And because the reason I'm pointing this out is because in previous chapters, when she said to Abraham, take Hagar and, and have a child with her. Well, at that point, Hagar was called his wife. It says Abraham took Hagar as his wife.
Oh, wow.
But yet Sarah is still referring to her as a servant or a slave. So in her mind, Hagar is not on the same level.
Right. Well, I know she felt some type of way when she got pregnant. I know that the text specifically says when she got pregnant.
Yeah, Hagar started to despise Sarah. So there's like this enmity between these two ladies already. And so then she tells Abraham to kick out Hagar and Ishmael. And the angel shows up and was like, yeah, it's let this happen, but I'm going to make a nation out of Ishmael. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Now, here's the thing that I struggle with. Hagar, you just don't know. You don't know people's personalities. You don't know people where she came. I mean, to me, it seems like she became a part of Abraham's household when they had went down in chapter 13 of Genesis. They went down to Egypt, and Pharaoh had given men servants and maid servants to Abraham.
Okay.
Along with cattle and a bunch of wealth. I think they acquired her at that point because she's Egyptian. So it makes me think, I don't know who knows her life before that, right? Who knows if she was just a servant or a slave to some other household before that under the king, under Pharaoh, and then was just given as a slave, kind of like Eliezer, right?
Okay.
So what in her mindset, like you get kicked out of your house, you got bread and water, and you just immediately go to the wilderness until your bread and water runs out. And then you just go to sit under a tree so you can die.
Wow. I hear you. Yeah.
Think about that. All these other towns in the region. She could even went and sought, emergency refuge with Lot and his clan.
That's deep.
The Ammonites and the Moabites springing up, So what's going on here? I mean, like, to me, she's going through it in her heart and her mind, right? She's not handling this rejection very well.
Right.
Because we don't get, like, if I'll go back to this verse real quick, we don't get the connecting information when you go from verse 19 to 20. Well, verse 19 to 20, the angel opens her eyes. She sees, oh, there's a well nearby. She's not even trying to stay alive. She wants to sit under a tree and die. There's a well nearby. She could have went to this well and sustained themselves.
So how are you taking that? Like, how are you?
Well, I'm saying that? Like, her whole mentality was, until the angel showed up to encourage her, she's not trying to survive.
Are you?
Instead of going to a nearby town, trying to integrate into a town, trying to offer to work for somebody, trying to do anything, instead of seeking refuge with Lot nearby, she goes out into the wilderness till her food and water runs out. And apparently she gets to a point where she's even near, within eye shot of another well, but she didn't even see it, because that's how blinded she is in her despair.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say, I take this as her being like really depressed.
Exactly.
Yeah. She's really
she's not handling this rejection very well at all.
Agreed.
And I love the results.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, God's response to her, the compassion that he had for her is heartwarming. Yeah, because she didn't ask for any of the things that were happening to her.
Right. Yeah, she's been given to different people all of her life, and she doesn't. Yeah, she feels out of control. But I think that's this unique little mindset here, where the Father had to go reignite her heart, because we don't get the connecting information from 19 to 20. So after she gets her eyes open to see that, hey, you don't have to die. There's a well right over there. Like, go get some more water. Just relax. Like, I'm not trying to pick on her, but it's like she's being a little bit dramatic. She's like, oh, I'm gonna die. I'm just sitting under this tree. No, I'm gonna sit away from my boy and die alone. I don't want to watch him die. And the angel's like, hey, tap on the shoulder. There's some water, like, right there. You
Yeah,
can
I hear
see
you.
it. It's right there. So,
I hear you.
so then verse 20, we just get God was with the boy. He grew up and settled in the wilderness and became a great archer. Well, that's a lot of in between that we don't get.
Right. And yeah,
How did she?
and
What
made
did
it.
she do that day? Where did she find food? Where did she? How did she settle? What provisions did she have?
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of missing information we don't get. So
Right.
that's all I'm saying is that
I hear you.
it's a unique mindset where God. I guess what I'm trying to be encouraging about to anyone listening is that I've been there. When
Mm,
I got divorced, I was there. I just
understood.
wanted to tune out the world and just wish it all would just go away, right? I've been in
Understood.
deep, deep sadness and despair, and God also pulled me out of that, thank God. But in this moment, she's got a little child with her, and God pulls somehow reignites her mentality, her mind, her heart, her drive for life.
Mhm.
As I don't even know if she ever was able to acquire that on her own since she was just passed off as a servant to multiple people her whole life,
Yeah, yeah. We
you
know,
know?
Peter, he says to his counsel to the husbands is, remember to deal with your wife in knowledge as she is the weaker vessel, right?
Yeah.
I've always understood that to mean, like a wine glass. A wine glass is technically a weaker vessel compared to like a Dixie cup, right?
Yeah.
If you drop a Dixie cup on the ground, it's not going to break. If you drop a wine glass on the ground, it'll break. The wine glass is more valuable than the Dixie cup, right? So it should be treated accordingly. Women may have the same circumstances as men. We tend to get into a hyper intellectual, logical mode when we're how can I say this? When it comes to the survival mentality, we tend to adjust more because I think that the Most High equipped us for that. We're
Yeah.
protectors, we're providers. We go to war, right? The women kind of are supposed to stay at home and be protected. So I can understand how easy it might have been for her to go into that type of despair given all those circumstances. I can also I can also relate to what you said. I'm myself. This is my second marriage with Rosie, so I went through that same despair. I didn't go through everything that Hagar went through, though. I wasn't kicked out
Yeah.
of a household or anything like that. She went through a lot,
Yeah.
and I also like the fact that the Most High count gave her encouragement regarding her son's outcome. The
Yeah.
fact that he said, he's going to he became a great archer, but I'm going to make him a nation. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's a beautiful provision.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's an encouraging it could be an encouraging story. It's just briefly given to us. You just really kinda gotta dig into the
Facts.
story to think about what's happening here. We also have at the end of this chapter, we had an angel, or excuse me, Abimelech and his commander Phicol make a peace treaty with Abraham over a well that Abraham dug. So it's interesting that these wells are given names, that they're given locational points, they're constantly referenced again and again, and that now this to the point where they're willing to make a treaty over it. And I love it how Abimelech does this treaty in the presence of, excuse me, I should say, Abraham does this treaty in the presence of Abimelech's commander of the army, Phicol.
Hmm.
So to me, this is extremely wise, right? So this is how the commanders of armies, generals of armies, throughout history have been notorious for taking over the kings, right? Because they have the
Facts.
army behind them, right? They get that
Right.
military coup, or they go out and just go rogue and do their own things because they got the power, and no one's going to tell the emperor above them.
Right.
They're notorious in history for doing this. So this is to me, this is wisdom. This is Abraham saying, "Yeah, no, let your right hand man be here too. Let us all see what's about to happen here, so
That's
that
great
everybody
insight.
knows."
That's
You
some
know,
great insight right there. That was a nice one. Yeah, that's deep.